Be me. 27-year-old G, autist with gigabit fiber and a home lab setup that would make NASA jealous. Work as sysadmin, make decent money, spend it all on mechanical keyboards and vintage ThinkPads. Live alone in an apartment with 4 monitors and enough Ethernet cables to strangle a small army. One day at coffee shop, debugging some script on my X220. Cute girl sits next to me even though entire place is empty. She smiles and asks what I'm working on. Spaghetti mode activated, but somehow managed to explain I'm setting up a network monitoring system. She seems genuinely interested, asks more questions about my setup. We talk for like an hour about random tech stuff. She mentions her internet at home sucks, and she comes here to work. Being the helpful idiot I am, I offer to help troubleshoot her network sometime. She lights up and gives me her number. Holy shit, did I just get a girl's number by talking about packet loss? Next few weeks are bizarre. She texts me constantly asking to meet up. Every time we meet, she mentions being hungry or wanting to try some new restaurant. My wallet is crying, but whatever. This is what dating is. Right? One time she needs help moving some furniture. I volunteer immediately. Another time her laptop is slow. I spend 3 hours cleaning malware off it. She always texts me when she needs something fixed or wants to grab food. My coworker Jake notices I'm spending a lot of money. Jake asks if I'm finally dating someone. I tell him about her and he just stares at me. He says, "Bro, does she ever pay for anything or offer to help you with something?" I realize I can't remember a single time. I feel like I got hit by a truck. Suddenly, every interaction makes sense in the worst possible way. Decide to test this theory. Next time she texts asking to meet up, I say I'm busy. She immediately asks when I'm free because her router is acting up. There it is. Tell her I can help, but I'm really behind on work this week. She says, "Oh, okay, no worries." And that's it. Doesn't text me for 4 days. On day 5, she messages asking if I'm free to check out this new burger place. I'm actually seething at this point. Agree to meet up because I need to know if I'm just paranoid or actually being used. Meet at the burger place. She orders the most expensive thing on the menu without even looking at prices. I order a basic burger. She starts talking about how her week was so stressful and she's glad we could hang out. I just nod and eat my burger in silence. She notices something is off and asks if I'm okay. I put down my burger and just ask her straight up, "Are you just hanging out with me because I fix your stuff and buy you food?" Her face goes completely red. She stammers for a bit, then just goes quiet. Finally, she sighs and admits she initially started talking to me because she needed tech help. Says her internet at home is actual garbage, and she saw me at the coffee shop looking like I knew what I was doing. Figured she'd ask for help and maybe buy me coffee as thanks. Then she realized I was actually nice and would help her with other stuff too. Admits she's been taking advantage of my generosity. Says she feels terrible about it and she'll pay me back for everything. I'm just sitting there processing this. Ask her why she couldn't just ask directly instead of pretending to be interested in me. She looks confused and says she wasn't pretending about being interested. Now I'm confused. She explains that, yeah, she initially approached me for help, but she actually enjoys hanging out with me. Says she just didn't know how to navigate the friendship without seeming like a user, so she just kept accepting my offers to pay because she's broke, and I seemed willing. I ask why she's broke if she's always working at coffee shops. She admits she's a freelance graphic designer and work is inconsistent. Also admits she's shit with money management. Some months she makes bank, other months she's eating ramen. I'm starting to feel less angry and more just sad about the whole situation. Tell her I appreciate the honesty. Mention that I actually have gigabit fiber at home if she ever needs reliable internet. Her eyes go wide like I just offered her the holy grail. Wait, seriously? Like actual gigabit? Yeah, I'm a GI user. What did you expect, DSL? She laughs for the first time since this awkward conversation started. Asks if she could actually come over sometime to work when her internet is being terrible. I say sure, but she has to actually just ask instead of this weird dance we've been doing. She agrees and promises to be more direct. We finish our burgers and I pay again because whatever, already committed to this one. She genuinely thanks me and says next time is on her. 2 weeks later, she texts asking if the internet offer still stands. Her building's ISP is doing maintenance for 3 days. I tell her to come over whenever. She shows up with her MacBook and a bag of expensive coffee as a peace offering. I show her my setup and she's genuinely impressed. Makes fun of my anime wallpaper, but in a friendly way. She sets up at my kitchen table while I work in my office. Every so often she comes in to ask questions about Linux or why her Mac is doing something weird. I help her out and we actually have normal conversations. She stays for like 8 hours and orders pizza for both of us without me asking. When she leaves, she thanks me again and says she got more work done than she has in weeks. This becomes a regular thing. Every few weeks she comes over to work when her internet is bad or she needs to focus. Always brings coffee or snacks or offers to cook something. We start actually becoming friends instead of whatever weird dynamic we had before. One time we're both working late and end up watching some documentary about early internet culture. She asks about my job and I explain what I do all day. She seems genuinely fascinated by the technical stuff. Mentions she wishes she understood. Computer's better beyond just using design software. I offer to teach her some basics if she wants. She actually takes me up on it. Spend the next few weeks teaching her basic command line stuff. She's surprisingly quick to pick things up. One day she brings her MacBook over and it won't even boot. Kernel panic, completely bricked. She's freaking out because she has client work due in 2 days. I try to recover her files, but the SSD is corrupted. Luckily, she had most stuff in cloud storage, but she's still panicking about not having a computer. I go to my closet and pull out a ThinkPad X230 I refurbished last year. Tell her she can borrow it until she gets her Mac fixed, or buys a new one. She asks what operating system it has. I grin and tell her it's running Arch Linux. She looks terrified, but also intrigued. Spend the next 2 hours setting her up with a Linux environment. Install all her design software through Wine and help her customize everything. She's frustrated at first because nothing works like Mac OS, but after a few days she starts texting me excited messages about discovering new features. Sends me screenshots of her customized desktop with anime wallpapers as revenge for me making fun of hers. Wait, I never made fun of hers. I made fun of mine. She made fun of mine. Whatever, she's embracing the GA lifestyle now. Month later, she still hasn't gotten her Mac fixed. Says she's actually gotten used to the ThinkPad and Linux. Mentions it's faster for her workflow anyway. I tell her she can keep it if she wants. She refuses and says she'll pay me for it. I tell her it's not worth much anyway, and I have like 4 others. She compromises by saying she'll pay me in homemade meals. I'm definitely getting the better deal here. One night we're hanging out after she finishes some client work, drinking beer and watching random YouTube videos. She brings up how different her life is now compared to a year ago. Mentions she used to date a lot, but it always ended badly. I jokingly ask if she's going to leave me for some Chad once she gets tired of hanging out with a nerd. She goes quiet for a second. Then she mentions she actually did date a lot of Chads, as I put it. Says they were all good-looking and confident, but also shallow and unreliable. Talks about how one guy borrowed money from her and never paid it back. Another one cheated on her with multiple girls. One guy literally moved across the country without telling her and ghosted her. Says she got tired of the drama and disappointment. Mentions that's partially why she started approaching nice guys like me instead. I suddenly feel angry and don't know why. The beer is making me more honest than I should be. I ask her if she's just settling for some beta now that she's done riding the carousel. She looks genuinely hurt by that. Asks me what I mean. I rant about how I've seen this pattern before where girls date jerks in their 20s, then try to find some safe, boring guy when they're ready to settle down. She lets me finish my rant, then just looks at me seriously. Says, "You think you're a beta?" I don't respond. She continues and says, "I have my shit together more than any guy she's dated." Mentions I have a stable job that I'm actually good at, hobbies I'm passionate about, my own place, and I treat people with respect. Says the Chads she dated were all broke, living with roommates at 30, working dead-end jobs, and treated her like garbage. Tells me I'm not some consolation prize or backup plan. I feel like an asshole now. Apologize for the outburst. She says it's fine and she gets why I'd think that. We sit in awkward silence for a bit. She asks if I want to talk about what that was really about. I'm drunk enough to actually open up for once. Tell her about high school. There was this girl I had a massive crush on. Spent a whole year working up the courage to ask her to prom. I was really into Pokemon cards back then. Had a huge collection. Found a holographic first edition Charizard in mint condition at a garage sale. Thing was worth like $500 even back then. Decided to give it to her as a gift when I asked her to prom. She said yes and seemed really excited about the card. 2 weeks before prom, she cancels on me. Says she decided to go with someone else. I was devastated but tried to be mature about it. Asked if I could at least have the card back since we weren't going together. She claimed she lost it. Found out later she sold it online and used the money to buy a dress for prom with the other guy. There's a long silence after I finish. She just says, "That's really fucked up." Yeah, it was. She asks if that's why I was skeptical about her intentions from the start. I admit it probably is. She nods and says that makes sense. Tells me she's sorry that happened and she understands why I have trust issues. Says she's not that girl though, and she hopes I can see that eventually. I tell her I'm starting to. We finish our beers and she heads home. Things are different after that night. Not bad different, just different. We still hang out regularly, but there's this weird tension now. Both of us clearly have feelings, but neither wants to risk the friendship. My friend Jake notices and tells me I'm being an idiot. Says I should just ask her out properly. I tell him I'm worried she'll say no, or worse, say yes out of obligation. He calls me a coward. He's not wrong. One day she comes over really excited. She landed a huge client that's going to pay her more than she usually makes in 3 months. Wants to celebrate and insists on taking me out to a nice restaurant. We go to this fancy place downtown. She's dressed up and looks amazing. I wore a button-up shirt that doesn't have any wrinkles, so I'm basically James Bond. Dinner's great. We talk about everything and nothing. She thanks me again for helping her when her Mac died, says that forced switch to Linux actually made her more productive and expanded her skill set. She got the big client partially because she could offer some web development work too now. I tell her that's all her, I just showed her the tools. She smiles and says I've helped her more than I realize. After dinner, we're walking back to the parking lot. She stops and turns to me, asks if I ever think about what we are. My brain immediately panics. I say we're friends, obviously. She nods slowly and says, right, friends. Asks if I ever thought about being more than friends. I'm sweating despite it being cold out. Admit that I have thought about it. She asks why I never said anything. I tell her the truth, that I'm scared of ruining what we have. Also scared that she's just going to leave eventually like everyone else. She looks sad when I say that. Tells me she's thought about it too. But she's also scared because her track record with relationships is terrible. Says every guy she's dated seriously has either cheated, left, or turned out to be completely different than who she thought they were. We're both just standing there in the parking lot having the most vulnerable conversation of our lives. I ask her what she wants. She says honestly she doesn't know. She likes what we have, but she also wants more. But she's terrified of screwing it up. I tell her I feel exactly the same way. We laugh at how ridiculous we're being. Two adults too scared to just try. She suggests maybe we just stay friends for now. Says maybe one day we'll both be ready, but forcing it now might ruin everything. I agree, even though part of me wants to just go for it. We hug, and it lasts longer than a friend hug probably should. That was 6 months ago. We still hang out all the time. She's still using the ThinkPad and has gotten really good at Linux. Even started contributing to some open source projects. I helped her build a proper desktop setup with dual monitors. She still comes over to work when she needs to focus. Sometimes we cook dinner together and watch movies. We've never talked about that conversation in the parking lot again. Jake thinks we're both idiots and has stopped giving me advice. Says we'll figure it out when we're ready, or we won't. He's probably right. A few weeks ago, she started seeing someone. Some guy she met through a client. She told me about it casually, like it wasn't a big deal. I said that's cool and tried to be supportive. Felt like getting stabbed, but whatever. They went on a few dates, and she seemed happy. Then last week she came over looking exhausted. I asked how things were going with the new guy. She said they broke it off. Apparently he was nice but boring and she felt nothing. Said she spent the whole date wishing she was just hanging out with me instead. I didn't know what to say to that. She flopped on my couch and asked if we could just watch something stupid. We ended up watching a documentary about Terry Davis and Temple OS. She was fascinated by how brilliant and tragic his story was. Said it reminded her why she likes hanging out with me. I like people who are passionate about things even if they seem crazy to everyone else. That night after she left, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about everything. Realized I'd rather have her in my life as a friend than risk losing her completely by pushing for more. But also realized I'm going to have to watch her date other people and pretend I'm fine with it. Not sure which is worse. Texted Jake at 2 a.m. asking for advice. He just replied, "You're still an idiot, but you're my idiot. Good night." Thanks, Jake. Very helpful. Present day. She's coming over tomorrow to help me set up a new server. Yes, she's helping me with tech stuff now instead of the other way around. We've come full circle. Still don't know what we are or what we're going to be, but I do know she's one of my best friends, and maybe that's enough for now. Or maybe we're both just cowards avoiding the inevitable. Either way, I'm getting free tech support out of it, and homemade dinners, and someone who actually laughs at my stupid jokes about obscure programming languages. Life is weird. Started as some girl using me for Wi-Fi and food. Now she's teaching me how to cook proper meals and helping debug my home lab. She went from knowing nothing about computers to running Arch Linux and contributing to open source projects. I went from being a lonely G autist to having actual human connection with someone who gets me. We're both too damaged and scared to take the next step. But maybe that's okay. Maybe some relationships exist in this weird liminal space between friendship and something more. Maybe we'll figure it out eventually. Or maybe we won't, and we'll just be those two people everyone thinks should be together but never are. Jake says the real treasure was the ThinkPad she kept along the way. He's not wrong. Converting someone to Linux is basically marriage anyway, at least according to G. My feelings when I realize I might be in the best relationship I've ever had, even though we're not technically in a relationship. That feeling when you're too scared to risk what you have for what you want. Such is life. Still have my Charizard story to remind me why taking risks is terrifying, but also have this weird, beautiful friendship that started with someone needing Wi-Fi. Maybe that's the real victory. Or maybe I'm just coping. Probably coping. Definitely coping. Anyway, she just texted asking what I want for dinner tomorrow. Suggests Thai food. I tell her that sounds good. She sends back a smiley face. I send back a thumbs up because I'm emotionally stunted. She replies, "You're such a G stereotype." I reply, "You're running Arch BTW. You're one of us now." She sends laughing emojis. Yeah, we're gonna be fine. Probably. Maybe. That feeling when you find someone who actually understands your autism, but you're both too broken to do anything about it. Later virgins. Wait, that doesn't work here. Still a virgin. Emotionally, at least. My face when I wrote this whole thing and realized I'm still just as confused as when I started. That feeling when life doesn't have clear endings or resolutions and you just have to be okay with ambiguity.